Minister Duban says piping gas in Central more viable. Lay rescue officers probe links of body to capsized boats. And the PNG Pepes continue winning run.
This is National EMTV News with Neville Choi.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on day 11 of the 2015 Pacific Games. This is Tuesday's news. Petroleum and Energy Minister Nixon Duban has responded to questions raised by Gulf LNG landowners. Minister Duban says the approval by the state to have gas piped out of Gulf was made based on project economics. He said it is economically viable to have it piped out than to build a processing plant in the province.
Responding to questions as to whether the state will reconsider the approval given to have gas piped out of Gulf, Petroleum and Energy Minister Nixon Duban said that decision was made after various considerations.
In Gulf, the waters are shallow and more open waters. And so when they look at the option of having the LNG plant site in Gulf, it will require them to build very long jetties out and also to do dredging, also additional cost. And with the oil prices declining, you are also putting stress on the project.
Landowners, including the Gulf provincial government, have opposed the announcement by the developer to have gas piped out and processed in Central Province.
Within 14 days, please respond to our concerns.
However, minister responsible for the project says the state and landowners should not try to get in the way of the project by making decisions that are not economically viable.
I think this is a decision that is commercially viable because of the research and work being carried out in the earlier part of this project before the announcements were made.
Minister Duban said the second LNG project is projected to go into full production in 2021, and its construction pace will create 2,000 employment opportunities for the people of Gulf alone. Michelle Amba, National EMTV News.
The newly opened Stop and Shop at Central Waigani was on fire last night. Residents next to the shop said they heard a big bang before they saw smoke and flames coming out the back of the shopping mall. But quick response from fire officers and police personnel to the scene saw no casualties reported or flames spreading to nearby buildings. Firemen were at the scene to put out the fire and also evacuate employees and nearby residents in the area. It is believed the fire started from the bakery area. Mother company CPL Group of Companies could not comment due to current investigations carried out by the Fire Service Department. The shopping mall remains closed for an indefinite period. The Bank South Pacific announced the takeover of Westpac operations in 3 Pacific Island countries today. With the 91 million Australian dollar takeover, BSP has now expanded its presence to include Samoa, Tonga, and the Cook Islands.
Speaking to EMTV this afternoon, BSP CEO Robin Fleming says this is a proud and historic moment for PNG. This deal was supposed to include Solomon Islands and Vanuatu operations as well. Mr. Fleming says they are committed to closing those deals in the near future.
In Cook Islands, Samoa and Tonga have been eagerly awaiting the transition to BSP to have that settlement concluded, and that was a fantastic outcome for everyone. It is very much a landmark transaction for those staff. It's not too often that you get to see a bank pass ownership and transfer ownership from one bank to another.
The original deal, including Solomon Islands and Vanuatu, was valued at 125 million Australian dollars. Fleming said in terms of services, they will slowly introduce financial inclusion packages that they have seen work well in BSP operations, especially in PNG.
We do have a program that deals with our smart business product around PNG, and it's one that we started a couple of years ago. We're starting to get more traction across all areas, and it's a similar program that we feel will have some benefit in areas in these new countries as well.
He said BSP's expansion in the Pacific provides good career opportunities for Papua New Guinean employees and those from other countries. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Producers of the Pacific Games opening ceremony, Makoda Productions, say alterations made to the national anthem was not to offend anyone. Producer Tanya Nugent says changes done were to accommodate stage movement and timing. She says Makoda Productions is proud of the country's identity and its national symbols.
In a statement received by EMTV, Makoda Productions apologized to all who are upset and offended by the rendition of the PNG National Anthem sung during the Pacific Games opening. Makoda says there was no intention to cause offense or breach laws surrounding the anthem and country's identity. Producer Tanya Nugent says the inclusion of word daughters is to create awareness of gender equality and inclusive of girls and women. Makoda made these statements following the outcry by Churches Council of PNG and the public outburst in the social media. However, Chief Secretary to Government Semana Supe Zerono explained that the National Identity Act only recognizes one national anthem. The Act clearly states that any changes to the anthem requires careful and informed debate by the government authority and must be decided by the people of the nation. Jack Lapawe Jr. National MTV News.
You're with National MTV News. Authorities in Lae believe that the corpse found at Lae's Vocal Point could be from capsized boats. That story and more after these short messages. Welcome back to the news. Morobe disaster officers say the body of an unidentified man found floating outside Lae's Vocal Point wharf could have come from as far away as the Milne Bay province. They say in Morobe alone there are more than 3 boats missing. Rescuers assume they capsized in rough seas, and some passengers on board are still missing at sea. Bethany Harriman from our Lae office with this report.
The body of the man found at the Vocal Point wharf brings to attention the increasing number of people going missing at sea. Earlier this morning, we visited the Morobe Disaster Office, tasked to the body that was found at the Vocal Point wharf could have come from as far as the Milne Bay province.
The identification of the man found outside of the Vocal Point wharf yesterday is still a mystery. The circumstances surrounding his death is also a mystery. From what we saw yesterday, the body had been decaying in the ocean and may be difficult to identify.
Morobe's coastline has been marred with boats capsizing during rough seas. The disaster office reports that it's mainly due to ignorance by the boat skipper and passengers who traveled during bad weather. Now, the National Executive Council has passed a policy to regulate small boats. Morobe's PC has to endorse a board council to start the regulation. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lae.
In its efforts to promote sustainable development, the National Planning Department announced 140,000 kina financial support for 2 upcoming events. 40,000 kina was presented to the National Fisheries Authority to co-host the Pacific Tuna Forum, while 100,000 was for the 2015 Waigani Seminar. Both conferences are one way or the other aimed at promoting Papua New Guinea's resources. The checks were received by representatives from NFA and the Waigani Seminar's organizing committee. Speaking during the presentation today, Deputy Secretary for National Planning, Joe Kappa, said the department is focused on implementing the government's development plans.
It goes along with, I think we have refreshments, right? Is on the way as well, sir. But the formula is over, and thanks.
We go into full phase of implementation they are going to take on board. So it's more of what we call all-of-government approach type, because it's all a promotion of the entire planning framework that we have, starting from Mission 2050, PNG DSP.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3625 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.355, $0.477 Australian dollars, $0.3186 euro, and 43.45 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, copper closed lower, while coffee, cocoa, and gold closed the day higher. Palm oil and crude oil closed lower, while copper closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 423 points lower, the All Ordinaries closed at 4 points higher, and the ASX closed the day at 3 points higher. Trukai Sports is up next. PNG Pepes proved too strong for Tonga, beating their opponents in Day 2 of netball. That story and more when we return.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. In Day 2 of netball, the PNG Pepes once again wowed the courts at the PNG Power Dome with another impressive performance, flaying Tonga 81 points to 27. The PNG netball team gave their opponents quite a challenge by starting off with a comfortable score of 29 to 11 in the first quarter, which later led to a runaway margin as each quarter progressed.
Once again, an impressive performance on court with a combination of PNG netball veteran Lua Rikis at goal attack and Tiata Baldwin assisting at goal shooter brought the team to a safe margin. The scores for each quarter progressed, with PNG leading from 29 to 11 in the first quarter, 40 to 14 in the second quarter, 64 to 19 in the third quarter, and in the final quarter, the combination of Harini Dayera and Jeffet Tulapi, who went into sub Rikis following a slight injury, took the ladies safely home with an 81 to 27 victory. Tongan goal shooter Luciame Kalaneti Vea, who advantaged her opponents with her height, displayed tremendous effort in scoring with the assistance of mid-court stronghold Laumaile. However, experience won over as PNG veteran goal defender Kilala Owens and goalkeeper Margaret Eka worked overtime to keep the balls away from the ring. Team Tonga put up a great effort with strong shooting. However, as the game progressed, the midcourt unraveled under pressure, making frivolous mistakes and predictable passes which gave them away. The PNG side were quick to pick up on their opponents' blunders, and with a combination of great intercepting at midcourt, were able to keep the ball stinking at their end. Tomorrow will prove to be a challenging match for the PNG Lasses, who are up against fellow world rankers Samoa. Vanessa Knight, National EMTV Sports.
In athletics, Papua New Guinea remained dominant on the tracks today, winning the men's and women's heats earlier in the day. Nelson Stone, Kupun Whistle, Kamaniel Matlaun, Toya Whistle, and Betty Burua all qualifying for the finals. Tonight we'll see the men's 100-meter finals, and EMTV will be covering that event live. And in karate, PNG has won its first and only gold. Nigel Bana taking out the gold in the men's events in this afternoon's finals. And finally in squash, it was a PNG affair in the women's singles finals today, with Ellie Webb and Lynette Vai battling it out for the gold and silver placings. Lynette won gold and Ellie settled for silver. PNG Sheila Morove played New Caledonia's Claire Socompre and lost to the New Caledonian. For more on the PNG Games updates, they'll be on EMTV's review show at 9 p.m. this evening. And weather details for tonight and tomorrow is up next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
A quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, again in the southern region. Port Moresby, Kerma and Alata mostly fine, and fine in Popaneta and Daru. And that's been the news, sports and weather for Tuesday the 14th of July 2015. Up next is EMTV's telecast of the women's 800 finals at the John Gaius BSB Stadium. From the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.